you've got your microphone muted, so that there's not any background noise. And please just introduce yourselves in the chat. So I see that Marcel has said good evening already. So if people just say hello and just say where they're from, so we've got a bit of a background for ourselves, but also Robert, more importantly, who I understand has invited lots of people from all over the world. So we'll see. Hopefully we get lots of people from all over the world. So we just give just a minute or so. We'll let other people come in because there are still people kind of joining. So I know networks can be a bit slow. So I'll just sort of talk a little bit while we just wait for people to enter. So as usual, the session follows a sort of, a format where we give as much time as we can to Robert to present, but he'll also have some interactive work as well. So he's got some material set up in Mentimeter, and also we can put responses in the chat. And then if people have questions, if you put them in the chat, I will pick up on them at various times. We'll ask Robert to respond. And just to say that on Friday, this coming Friday, Robert has kindly agreed to come back again and deal with any questions. So if we don't get around to answering the questions today, which we probably won't, certainly won't get all of them, we've got another chance to revisit the questions at 6 o'clock UK time in the Telegram group. So I'll keep advertising that. So that's like 6 o'clock in Senegal. It's 7 o'clock in places like Nigeria and Cameroon. It's 8 o'clock, I think, in Sudan, and 9 o'clock in Ethiopia. So that's the different sort of time zones. And South Africa will be. Yeah, so Bambo, you've got a question? Is that a question? We probably need to sort of get going, really. Do you want to put your question in the chat, and we'll see if there's a problem. We'll try and resolve that. Yeah. So can I then pass over to Robert, who I'm sure a lot of you know already, and works in Cameroon, doing a variety of different things. And today he's going to be talking about resource-scarce environments. So let me pass over to Robert. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Gary. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can, but we'll see what people say, other people say.
Okay. Steve, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Very well.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. Today we're going to work on teaching English in a resource-scarce environment, and it's generally our problem here and elsewhere, where we're teaching English in a context where our students do not have everything that is necessary, and our classrooms may not be all equipped. So my name is Robert Kenfack. I'm an English and French language teacher from Cameroon. I've been teaching for 17 years now. I'm still in a classroom. I'm a Fulbright Teaching Excellence and Achievement alumnus, and I was in the University of Massachusetts, Lowell. I am a UNESCO Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development consultant, and a master trainer for an online course they have that is entitled The Digital Teacher. I am a British Council's master trainer for the English Connect program. So that's all about me. And by the end of this session, as objectives, what we want to do is the participants will be able to describe a resource-scarce environment, develop strategies, and I identify materials and techniques that can be used in such an environment to teach each of the 4 skills of English language. We're talking about listening, reading, speaking, and writing. So I'll just begin this by asking those questions to us. And yeah, we might want to ask ourselves, what is a material? In a classroom, what do we call a material? What is a resource? And most specifically, we want to know the difference between a material and a resource. So let me stop sharing here, and then we will move to a Mentimeter activity. Like I will share the link to the Menti here, and then you're going to practice the activity with me. Yeah, Steve, would you want to share the link? Do you have it?
Yes, yes, I'm going to share it now.
Yes, you could share the link while I'm getting to the page, so we see what all the members here, they have to say about that. Yes, have you shared the link, Steve?
Yes, yes, I shared it.
Okay, that's great, thank you. So we want to get the difference between our resource and material. You are defining the resource and you're defining the material, and we want to get that difference. Yes, here, if you've got the link, then you just click on the link. Good. We can have a resource is what you use during teaching to convey your content. Material is content. Great. Material refers to a reading piece or writing piece. A resource can be a dictionary. Oh, that's great contributions from you. Yeah, we've got 2 contributions so far. You just click on the link and you're going to get to this page, and then you type in your answer, and we're going to get it on this board. Yes, the link is in a chat. I hope many more people are joining. If you have some difficulties, you may type in the chat box, so Gary or Steve would tell me if there is anything. So you just need to click on the link and you get to the page. And you type your answer. After typing your answer, you click on submit, and then we will get it here. Oh yeah, material is any support or video through which a specific content is taught. Resource is a combination of relevant material. Material is a substance that can be used to make something. A resource can be used to achieve a goal. A material can be a resource. Yeah, wonderful contributions from you. You may also want, if you cannot get to this page, type your answers in the chat box, and Gary will read some for us. Yeah, some more contributions coming in. So Yeah, good. Yes, we have resources, a book, Google that you use to develop materials are resources. Material is the stuff or ideas you use. Good. So we've got lots of contributions from you. Thank you for contributing. Yeah, great. So we want to move, and we'll be coming back to this later, and then I'm going to share the results of this Mentimeter page in our Telegram group, and that's going to be on Friday, I think, or Saturday. Anyway, Gary is going to communicate with us. We will share the results of this page so you can see what all of you wrote in the Telegram group. So we're inviting you to join the Telegram group so we discuss more on this session that day. Yes, Gary, while I'm, do you have any interesting answer in the chat box for us?
Not at the moment. People are just introducing themselves. And there's no particular things. People are coming from all over, mostly from Africa, as I guess we'd expect, but from a wide variety of countries in Africa. So yeah, everybody seems to be joining and introducing themselves. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we were at the level of the difference between, so we want to say that material includes things like textbooks or anything that you can touch, anything that you can count in the classroom, but the resources go beyond the material. So a resource can be a material, just as many people say, but resources do go beyond material to include everything that you can use to improve your teaching, support your learning, and make the teaching and learning process easier and effective. Let us take note that a human, we're not going to call a human a material. When we have human beings like teachers in a classroom and as students that we can also use, we're not going to call them material, but we're going to call them resources that we have in the classroom, a human resource. So what is a resource-scarce environment? What do you think we call a resource-scarce environment? I'd like you to type your answers in the chat box. And what do you think we call a resource-scarce environment? You might want to type your answers in the chat box. What is a resource? Yes, a resource-scarce environment. Could you produce some answers in the chat box? Yeah. Oh, I can see there is a rarity of resources. Yeah, rarity seems to be a French word, but I think it may mean scarcity. Yeah, scarcity of resources. That's from Suli. Thank you for contributing, Suli. Do we have any yes, we may want to. Yes, an environment where, yeah, resource scarce environment. Yes, Papa says it's an area, yeah, environment where we don't have enough resources from bamboo. Yes, Ngozi says environment where resources are scarce. Yes, limited resources, lack of resources, scarcity, good. Wonderful contributions from many of you. That's great. Yes. Teaching environment where both teaching material and resources are not available. Yes, that's wonderful. Yes, Justine, Marina, yeah, great. Lots of contributions from all of you, and they're very great. They're great contributions They are wonderful ones indeed. So thank you. Thank you for contributing. That's great. The answers are good, all of them. So resource-scarce environment, it's actually an environment where like we have like our class in our classes, generally we may have no television, we may have no screen, we may have no overhead projectors, we may not have the textbooks available for the students to use, we may not have computers, we may not have circuits, like we have an activity to carry out and then we want to use a circuit and we are unable to use it. We may not also have electricity to be able to use a computer in the classroom. Yes, so all of those are going to be called the characteristics of a resource-scarce environment, which is an environment where there is actually limited resources. Many people said that. So you don't have a book in your class, you don't have projectors, you don't have a loudspeaker, your students do not have their textbooks with them, and that environment is where actually you lack material, you lack resources. But remember that we said that our teacher is a resource. A teacher is a wonderful resource. So we want to see, we've got an environment like the one we've just described. How possible is it for us to teach in such an environment in a way that our students understand what we teach in reading and they are able to use English language for reading? So for this activity, we're going to go to a mind master. So I'll start sharing here, and then you could be typing some of your answers in a chat box. So when we get to, yes, you could be typing some of your answers in a chat box. While I stop sharing here. So how do you teach reading in such an environment? So I want to open this activity in MindMaster and share with you. So Gary, do you have some people with some wonderful answers in the chat box?
I mean, there's one, sorry, so far. Yeah, students read from textbooks I've got so far. I'll put the...
Good, so yes, would you like to, would you want to help me share the link to this?
I've shared the link. I have shared the link.
Okay, so when you click, you get to this page. This is what you do to be able to, yes, you click on what is here in the middle. You click on the question and you're going to see this plus icon, this yellow plus icon here. You click inside the yellow plus icon and then you're going to see this area and then you type your answer there. So how do you teach reading in a resource-scarce milieu? For example, I can write, I use pictures, for example. Yeah, that's my answer. Yes, that's just what you do. So you click inside here where the question is, and you're going to see a plus icon in yellow, and you click on the plus icon, and then it's going, a box, like a dialog box is going to pop up, and then you type your answer in there. And if you realize that a participant has typed an answer which goes closer to what you want to type, you can just click on what the person has done. Like here, I have typed this one already. I can click there, and I'm going to have another plus icon, and then the plus icon is here, and I add my answer to that of the person. Yes. So I hope you're doing the activity.
People are talking about various things in the chat. So people improvise is one thing that they've said. designing their own materials, using old newspapers and other relevant print materials, anything I can lay my hands on, copying, reading texts and distributing to students, write text on the board. You can adopt the read aloud method. Again, photocopies, some old magazines there. Yeah, use the environment, things like traffic signs, adverts, newspapers, printing passages, use drawings. So lots of creative ideas there.
Thank you. Those are wonderful contributions indeed, Gary. But like, I haven't yet seen anybody on this other page of the Mind Mister. Yeah, well, you just click on the link that has been shared to you. No, in the chat.
I'll share it again.
Yes.
Maybe people struggle a bit because they are only doing it on a mobile, Robert. So.
Oh, I see. I see.
So it might make more sense to do it here. So in the chat. So people talk about grouping the students.
Okay. Okay. Like.
Singing.
So the it would appear many aren't able to get access to this page.
I think that may be an issue.
It's actually asking people to register first.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, or sign up. So it's probably what's
okay. That's one. Okay,
yeah.
Great. That's wonderful. So since we've got contributions from the chat, I think we will just have to move on. Like. We have to proceed and since we've got a lot contributions and then there were a lot of them, Gary read some wonderful contributions and we just want to move. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's back on, yeah.
Great.
But you're at the beginning, so.
Also sorry for this, so yes. Good. So we are in a classroom where we want to teach reading and we actually do not have anything, and I'm so happy many of you mentioned some of these strategies. For example, you could photocopy the text and to be read for the students. And you can see here in bracket that we need to take note of copyright laws. So take note of that. Actually, we can have a lot of material that are open educational resources and they are free. We can get them online. Yeah, and then we can photocopy them for our students. But remember, always take note of the laws guiding photocopy, copyright, and all the like before you can share, photocopy any material. Yeah, but photocopying and sharing the text to learners is one of the methods we could use. We could also decide if we just have a few books in the classroom, we could decide to organize our students into small groups and then the work around table with one book, or also if we don't have enough means to be able to photocopy the text for each candidate, we might want to give one text per group of people and again work on that. So we could also use authentic material. Actually, authentic material is material that has not really been designed for teaching, but that we could use for teaching. For example, when we have a newspaper, it wasn't designed for teaching, but from the newspaper, we could get a text that we can use, exploit the text in the classroom for our learners, and that will be authentic material that we're using instead of just taking the textbook and then reading when students, we know the students do not have the textbook with them. We could also surf the net to get some text, some passages. There are a lot of passages on the net we could serve. And as I said, there are lots of open educational resources that are existing on the net. And the British Council, Teaching English Africa and Teaching English in general, they've got a lot of passages on their pages that we could take and use. They've even got some lessons on their pages that teachers can exploit with their learners. So they just a good number of resources. So we have a classroom where we want to teach and the learners do not have the textbook. Another thing we could do is we could dictate the text to learners. I mean, if the text is long, we could decide to divide it into sections, and then we dictate the text to the learners. And at the end of the dictation, we use the text that we have now for reading material. We exploit it for reading. Remember that this depends on the length of the passage that we have, and also on the level of the students too. Also, we could copy the text on the board. Yeah, we've got blackboards, we've got whiteboards for some people. You could decide to copy your text. It's going to take you time, but it's always good your learners have something they're working on. So you could decide to copy the text on the board. Another thing you might want to do is you might want to copy the text on a chartboard, flip chart or cardboard that you just come to class and you post it and you start exploiting it with your learners. Yes, so you could actually put your text on a cardboard or flip chart, and then you come with it to class and you exploit it with the learners. And then you could also decide to teach the passage in sections. So all of these can help, and bring some pictures to accompany the passages so the learners will easily understand what you're talking about. If you have some pictures that you can also download and use for your learners to easily understand, that would be good. You could also get the posters from your community. So make sure you use a lot of things from your community. So we want to move to to listening now. You've got to teach a listening lesson, and you find yourself in a community, you're in a classroom where apart from the blackboard, there is nothing, or apart from the board, there is nothing. What would you do? You may want to type your answers in a chat box. I would also want to invite you to use Jamboard to be able to put your answers, but like you can be typing them in the chat box. I'm going to stop sharing and Gary can get some answers for us, and I will take us to the Jamboard page where you can type your answers.
So I've added the Jamboard to the chat now, but I guess.
Okay, you've already put it, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, are people contributing already?
Not yet, there's still things. Yes, they've got, I will use a recorded text on tape. I guess from the radio, singing, storytelling.
Wonderful contributions.
Read the text or passage.
Yeah, that's great.
So maybe read the text with somebody else.
Yeah, that's great.
Or get somebody else to do it if you've got a useful resource, somebody else who's got the necessary skill at language. record a text.
That's great indeed. Yeah, you can record the text. That's great. Yes.
Somebody said take turns to read.
Good. That's wonderful too. You've got a lot of wonderful contributions, Gary.
Yeah, I have, but they're not mine. They're all the wonderful audience. So do a podcast I've got.
Yeah, good. So here I am on the Jamboard page. I don't know whether many can get access to it. So when you get to this page, this is what you're going to do. The page is blank for now. So you come to this area where you have this, which is a sticker. You click on it, and then the sticker comes to the middle here on your screen. What you have, you can change the color of the sticker. Clicking blue, you click pink, any color that you like. And then that is the question, how do you teach listening? One example Gary used is I record the text. So I can write here, I record the text. I record the text. That's my case. And once you're finished writing, you click publish. And yeah, immediately your answer is going to get to the page. Yes. So could you just
talking about using Bluetooth speakers, for example? So downloading MP3 players from the internet and connecting it to a Bluetooth speaker.
That's wonderful. Wonderful contributions. So you get to this page. If you're here, then you click on this sticker, and then you choose the color you like, and then you type your answer there, and then you click publish. It's going to pop up on this board, and all of us can see your answer.
I think people are maybe struggling a bit with access because of resources, internet resources. So people are saying they can't access it. So
oh, many people. Oh, yeah. Oh, so no one has been able to access it.
Doesn't look like it at the moment. So
okay, okay, yeah, but like if they can access the page, then like, but normally they would have got access to it. Then we, since we've got a lot of contributions from the chat box, then we could immediately move to the next part of our presentation. Do you still have some contributions, Gary?
there are still some contributions. There were a couple of questions I thought were quite interesting about the reading, where people were talking about the issue of, I mean, you covered it a little bit by talking about using cardboard or flip charts, but people were saying in certain circumstances, they wouldn't be able to access the internet to find resources. They would have no, they'd have no access to, things like textbooks. So, how would you deal with it then? I think you kind of answered that, but there was some interesting questions there about, I guess very extreme situations where there's no access to photocopying, no textbooks, and that's the kind of thing that people were saying about writing. Let me just go back to the bottom of the chat and see what else people are saying. Recording the text. Yeah, most people are saying very similar things now. So,
okay. Can you see my screen? Can you see my slides?
Yes, yes, we can see your slide. Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So, thank you for the wonderful contributions, Gary. I think they're right. You may also be in an area where there is no electricity, and then you're unable to have access to the internet. Yeah, but like, as I said, you could always use a material from the community. Actually, in the community, you will not lack a book. You will always have a book somewhere that you can have. And if you get that book or your own book as a teacher and you don't have electricity, you might want to copy the text on the board you might want to put it on a cardboard or on the board or dictate it to your learners. So depending on where you are, you're always going to find a solution to that. Yes, you can copy. If you don't have internet, you copy it on the board. And the learners, it will take more time, but the essential thing is that at the end, your learners have got the text that you wanted to teach them. You might dictate it to them. That is another possibility. And you might also want to have authentic materials from your community, textbooks that, but most especially, I'm talking about magazines, I'm talking about the press, newspapers. If you could get them, that would be good. So you select the passages that you want to teach from them, and then you come to the classroom. As far as listening is concerned, you have your listening passage, and then you cannot. One thing, yeah, in our classes, you may not have electricity. In that case, the thing you can do for listening is that you can read the text to the learners. You're going to function like that recorder that had to produce the text for the learners, or yeah, that's what you can do. You could also do what we call a dictogloss, and we're going to come back to that later. So you can record the passage in your own your phone. Yeah, you've got your phone today, just like you're sending a voice via WhatsApp or Viber to someone, or any other social media app that you want. You can record your text, you read it by yourself, you record it. And today is very easy in our communities to find what a loudspeaker, which is not very expensive. You could get those small loudspeakers, and then you can get to your class and connect your phone to the loudspeaker via Bluetooth. It's very easy today. And then your learners will be able to listen to the passage in case you don't want to read the passage to them in the classroom. You might want to connect your device via Bluetooth. You might want to get a colleague or a friend who reads well. If you think you may not be able to read, you might get a colleague or a friend who reads well to get to your class and help you read the text for you students. I think that would be great, and this is what we really recommend, because it has to do with working in communities of practice. Means that you've got your co-worker or a teacher with whom you can always share material and get to help one another. You might also want to divide the listening passage into sections. If you're able to divide it into sections, then you can then read it to your learners, and they will be able to answer the questions. So here are some of the strategies that you could use to teach listening skills in an environment where actually you don't have, your learners do not have the material, and the material is not available. So most of the things that were said in the chat box are also good strategies that we could use to be able to solve the issue of lack of resources in our communities. So we want to move this time around, and we're talking about teaching speaking. So I may want you to tell us some of the strategies you use for teaching speaking. How do you teach speaking when you are in a community where you do not have resources at all? Oh. Yes, what do you do for speaking? Yeah, do we have anything in the chat box, Gary?
There's group tasks, presentations, using pictures, drills, dialogue
Wonderful.
repetition or role play,
Great,
another role play one,
great,
creating dialogues,
wonderful.
using songs
Yeah,
and
those,
storytelling.
wow, that's great.
So again, group work.
So those are wonderful contributions, Gary. Thank you for your contributions. So actually, for speaking, we can organize dialogues in our classrooms. Depending on the level, we may want to make our dialogues very short, so the learners will be able to read them easily and practice them. We might want to make them in a forms of role plays, so the learners can easily practice them. Yeah, and if they are short, the better, because at that level, we're going to get learners whose level generally will be low, and we don't want them to stress themselves a lot. We might want to also share the roles in the dialogues or in the role plays in such a way that each and every student can have a small portion. We can have skits that we organize with the students, and they really would like these activities a lot. We organize some little skits with them, and we could have drills. Drills are wonderful, and they are close to recitations, and we drill the students to say a sentence, for example, and as we going on, we could change the pronouns, we could change the nouns, we could change the verbs, we could change even the verb tense, and then we drilling them. And general at the end, we're going to realize that they can speak. We can also use songs, and then use stories, but let's keep our stories very short, and then the learners will be able to read the stories, and at the end we may want to ask them to make their own stories, and that will be easier for them. Remember, our stories must be very short, because our learners in such environments do not have a lot of exposure to the language. So we want to move now to writing. We are in such an environment and we want to teach writing. So what are some of the strategies that we use in our classes to be able to teach writing? So you want to type some answers in the chat box, and we're going to get one or two before we move on. Yeah, I see dictation here. Group creative writing, great. Put strategies here that you use for writing, teaching, dictations, descriptions, true or false statement, yeah, charts, yes. Practice makes perfect from Alimu. Free writing task, yes, that's wonderful, yeah. Yes, guided composition, that's wonderful, guided composition, yes. Yes, guided composition, yes, it's a wonderful tool indeed, yes, great. Using sentences, yes, yes, yes. Great group work, that's wonderful. Great contributions from all of you. Yeah, you've got a lot of wonderful contributions. And so actually, yes, if you are in such an environment, I think what you can use, you use a lot of authentic material from the community. Yes, and I was talking about newspapers, I was talking about magazines, things that you can find, text that you can find in the community. Your learners will read, and you will drill them into making their own text, using the model that you've given them, and gradually you're going to move from that model to ask them to use their own ways and their own styles now. And you could go, the group writing activity is really very, it comes in very useful here, as you're going to have people contributing and creating one text, and each person has to bring their own contributions. Some will be scribes. Remember, you need to share the roles. Some are scribes, some are collecting the ideas, putting them into sentences. You might just want to, depending on the level, to teach your students, just sentence writing is enough in such environment. You might want to bring like some personal stories, which are very easy for them to write if you have taught the vocabulary necessary to that. If you have exploited texts that are related to personal stories, they will be able, from that text that you've just read, to make their own writing text on personal stories. Use a lot of flip charts for your learners to write their answers on, and then you post them in the classroom, and always try to organize gallery work so your learners can work around and see what the others have done. And then you could come out with like error correction, feedback on what each and every group has done. That would be good. Yes, and guided writing, yeah, that is an excellent tool. You want people to talk about their personal stories, and they are in an environment where you know their English proficiency is low because they lack material. So you might want, it's a personal story, you might want to ask sentences. What is your name? And then you ask them to make back sentences to answer your questions. For example, they're gonna say, my name is, where do you come from? I come from, and so on. You move. What are the members of your family? They're going to make sentences, and gradually at the end of that, you might want to make to ask them to take all the sentences and put them into a form of a passage or text, and that is going to help them a lot, because they are in such environment is going to help them. Use a lot of pictures with them to be able to illustrate the things that you explaining to them. Yeah, and so materials and techniques and resources in a resource-scarce milieu, what are the things that you can do there in general? You might want to use a lot of realia, and realia are real world things, like household objects or demonstrations of how to do daily tasks. All of them are realia. Using realia brings the students' everyday lives into the classroom. So we could use that, and it's going to work well. We could recycle and review. So we want to end every class in such an environment with a debriefing, a review, and begin the next class with a review of the previous class. That is going to help the students a lot, because they don't have books, and in the environment in which they are, they don't have any other material in English language. So when you end the class, you review what you've done in the class, and at the beginning of the next class, you try to review your class again, so they get to, because you're the only resource for them. Yeah, so they get to work on one thing many times. Don't just say, okay, yes, we did. I've already done the work on the simple past tense with them. If after doing that for about the whole week, you could be coming back to it and repeating and repeating and repeating, then they're going to learn, because they don't have any other resource. And you too do not have any other thing. You can refer them to any book that they're going to read after your class. So the other thing is that I would like you to adapt and reuse existing materials as much as possible. So you may not have to build the wheel anew for every lesson. No, often you can take lessons and material that you already have, and then change the setting, the grammar tense, for example, the characteristics of participants, and then or many other feathers to have the original material reborn. I was just talking about people introducing themselves. Oh, my name is, I am this person. Oh, if you want to change, you want to teach the simple past tense next time, you could still bring the same text, and then you say, Ali was born in this, he did this, he did that, and you're just changing the verbs that were in the very text, that the same text that you had, you're changing just the verb tenses, so you're reusing the material in another way. And next time, I mean, so you have the possibility of doing a lot of things, but with the same passage, because you are in a resource-scarce environment. Yeah, so the other thing you could do is you could do peer support, and this is a very important part of teaching. You can't teach alone in your own class. I mean, you can teach in an isolated manner, and that's why we have seminars, webinars, and we have teacher associations. Join as many teacher associations as possible. Join as many webinars as possible. Go to a website if you can. I mean, the British Council has got a website, Teaching English Africa. There they even have some lessons that are already prepared for you that you can take and adapt to the level of your learners and adapt to your context of teaching, and that would be a resource that you already have. So do not hesitate to call a colleague in your department or at your school and ask them how they are doing. They always say many hands do light work. So be a second pair of eyes, review each other's work. I mean, work together to create and share materials. You share materials with the colleagues at the same school, at the same department, so you share your strategies, so you don't have to think a lot. You do mutual classroom observations, so you get to find some strategies that you can use to work with your students easily. You may also want to exploit materials completely. As I said, if you have a dialogue, do it as a listening activity too. It could be a dialogue you use for reading, or you first of all use it as a listening activity, then you come and use it for a role play. It's the same dialogue. You come and use it for writing. You model the writing through that dialogue. Yes, you can also use the same element to teach pronunciation or word or phrase, study activity, a role play, and then have students develop related role plays using the same general language, but changing the context slightly. Yes, then you will not say you lack material. Yeah, the other thing is you could use songs, just chant, and then I mean, you make them very short as possible. Yes, songs, jazz, chants, they help students learn the rhythm of English, while skits encourage their creativity and push them to find the vocabulary and expressions they need to bring the skit to life. So songs, jazz, chant, skits, but always try to bring an example, so they get to find their own styles, beginning from what you've given them as examples, because people are in an environment where they have no English speaker, for example, and then you come to class and then you've just put a topic on the board and you want them to write something about that. They don't have the word necessary to do that, and they don't even know how to start. But if they had seen an example somewhere and they have it while they're writing, then it could guide them. Yeah. So yeah, the teacher the teacher yourself, you are a dictionary on your own, that for your learners, you're the only resource. So you can be a source of authentic listening activity. You can draw pictures, bring in materials and objects from outside the classroom. You can bring images or text or environmental print, English like advertisement. That's what I call authentic material. You could have, when you buy a product, you generally have a text that comes with it to guide you on how to use. Like it could be a computer or a phone. At times you have that message that is written in English. You might want to use it in your classroom. So teachers can be cultural resources and reference, and they can give immediate feedback on the English students try out to see if it is effective or not. So we could use dicta gloss. That is, we had it when we were talking about listening. So you could ask your students to close their notebooks and put their pens down. What you do is that you read a text, they listen carefully, then you ask your students to write down everything they can remember. It's a good strategy to learn vocabulary, and when they are still at the level of words, it's very good. Put students in pairs or small groups and ask them to share ideas and try to reconstruct the text. If you want, you can read it out again, and then, but make sure students aren't writing while you're dictating. So you want to captivate their attention. You may want to, before doing this, to bring, see a picture or something that will guide them, have a general idea of what you want to do. So yes, you could also write up a series of questions on the board to guide them as they are listening to you. These could be the comprehension questions, and tell students that the answers to the questions will help them reconstruct the text. So that's another strategy that could really work in a resource-scarce environment. So bring a lot of games to your classroom, make your classrooms lively by games, but try to choose games that are appropriate to your students' ages, the knowledge and the proficiency, and then the interest. Because if the games are not interesting, if the games is not because it's a game that you not think about the level of your learners, it should be a game that really reflects the level of your learners. For example, for people at the novice level, I mean, talking about beginners, you could have a game like, I spy the room and I see a chair and somebody has to touch the chair, or I spy the room and I see a book and somebody has to show the book. Yeah, that will guide them in the vocabulary a lot. Yeah, we also have Pictionary and charades might be better for older students with little more proficiency in English. What I call a Pictionary here is a game in the form of a picture. Actually, we use it to teach vocabulary. So you have a board where you have like animals there, and students have to move from one area to the other by touching touch the animal, you see the name, and you're progressing right up to the other end. So when you touch the animal, you see the name, then you progress and you have point up to you get to the end. So it's very good game for learners too. For more advanced students, a game of 20 questions related to a recent class topic can be quite motivating. Remember, I said at the beginning of each lesson, always try to review what has been done. And in the older classes, if you have some, I mean, the advanced classes, some questions that will really help students, like 20 questions, and try as much as possible to reward your learners. That will be quite motivating for them if you can reward them. So I am almost getting to the conclusion of this webinar, and I would like to see that teaching in a resource-scarce environment actually requires a lot of imagination. You need to be creative. Creativity is needed for a teacher who is in such an environment. If you're not imaginative, you aren't creative, you won't be able to teach there. The teacher must praise the learners for little efforts they make, because in such an environment, I mean, they don't have anything. They are following lessons in a language they don't understand, and we must encourage them by praising them for the very little thing they do. If they do something which is very little, we need to encourage them for that, praise them a lot, so they will get the motivation to learn. Yeah, and we must use a lot of local materials. Yeah, local materials help students to understand better. So in the community, find your material from the community. I remember this English language teacher who was teaching the sound fur in a community where they call a leaf fur. And that English language teacher will go to class with a leaf, and as they are saying fur, they are showing the leaf to the students and saying fur, and then the students will easily understand what they are talking about, and they will never forget. So find local materials, use a lot of local examples from the community, so the learners get to remember what you talked about. I always say, when I'm teaching the seasons, if I have to teach the seasons and I realize whether it's in the book or in the syllabus that has been given to me, they're talking about European seasons, I won't start there at all.
You end well, you end well by the grace of God.
I will start with dry season or rainy season, because in the community where I am, they're not talking about winter. What is winter to a student in a community where they've never heard about winter? And then, I mean, even if they've heard winter, maybe it's in French and you must translate before they understand. So it's better you start from what they know, which is dry season, before you move to talking about the seasons in Europe. And then what you want to do is trying to compare, so they will know that, oh, okay, so winter is almost like, and this is the difference, this is the similarity. There it permits the learner in such an environment to understand better. So we must always contextualize the lesson content and make fun lessons, because in such communities, in a resource-scarce environment, students may be really demotivated, and we must make our content local and make the lessons fun and praise them. So yeah, I think that's general what I'm going to tell you to conclude this. So thank you for following, for being with us. I don't know if we still have time to get some questions, Gary.
There aren't any sort of specific questions, Robert, that I can see. People are talking about getting recordings of the event, which is always a good thing, and the materials, and they will be made available in the next sort of couple of days. I've just also announced that we're going to have a follow-up session on Friday, so that gives people a chance to sort of think about the sort of questions they might want to ask. So that's 6 o'clock on Friday, and that will be text-based, and it will be on the Telegram group. So that will be on the Telegram group, and I put a link. I'll do it again. I'll put a link. If you're not members of the Telegram group, then there's the URL to join it. Yes, so Steve has just put it up as well. So thank you very much, Robert, for a very interesting talk. Lots to think about there. I think potentially lots of questions as well, and lots of contributions from the community. So if the community wants to join us, on Friday, so that's 6 o'clock GMT or Senegal, that's 7 o'clock Nigeria and Cameroon, 8 o'clock I think in Sudan, and 9 o'clock in Ethiopia. So those are the different time zones across the African region, the Sub-Saharan African region. So but I will put more messages up about that, so that just to remind people. So thanks again, Robert, for a great talk, and some interesting ideas there on how to manage in a resource scarce environment.